I'm in my element. Okay, that shit lit like a sound like a medicine. Alright, scriptures be healing, so I guess it makes sense. Okay, where would I go? Boy, who
What's good, Elliot?
Thank you and good night. So, of course, my name is Elliot. Thank you guys for being in my house. This is my house. Welcome to So I've been fired up all day to give this message, and the minute worship stopped, and I started walking from over there right here, the stomach started to turn. So you guys bear with me. Also, if you guys are okay with it, hope you guys are all cool with being interactive.
Yes.
So if you guys have a Bible app on your phone or a Bible with you, I may point some of you guys out to read a verse. Hope that's cool. Because it'll be random. It'll just be like, yo, read. So, I want to tell you guys, George, I got you. I'm just kidding. So, I want to tell you guys a story about what my New Year's Eve was like. So, this past New Year's Eve, a friend of mine decided to host a party. It was obviously we're going into a new decade, 2020, and she wanted to have a party that was like 1920s themed. Great idea, had a great time. It was at my house. We had like decorations put up. Everybody was dressed up in 1920s garb, which, okay, anyway. We were all dressed in 1920s garb. The girls look good, the guys look good. Of the 31 New Year's Eves I've ever had, it's probably the best one. It's up there. Of the 31 I've had, it's definitely top 3. For those of you who didn't tell, it was her party. So thank you, Jeff, for that. It was so awesome. It was a great party. I mean, we finished about 1 a.m. that day or that morning, and everybody went home, and I was like on like an adrenaline high. I had a great time. I was ready to go do something. I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just go out and like do something again, which as a Christian, that'd be kind of dangerous. So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So after everybody left, again, I'm still on an adrenaline high, had a great time, and the room was like, we had stuff moved to a side, so this couch actually pulls apart. But we had part of the couch against the wall, the other parts were like just spread out in the room. So everybody leaves, and this little section, like the chase, what it's called, it was against the wall, and I sat down on it just scrolling Instagram, just seeing what was going on that night, like what everybody else was doing. And my adrenaline high, my great time, my like top 3 moment, as I was on Instagram scrolling and seeing what everybody else was doing, suddenly I started to kind of feel depressed. I noticed, even though I had a great time, and a lot of friends came, I saw this guy in Colorado. I'd never been to Colorado. I saw this girl was in New York, Times Square. I'd never been there. I saw these guys and girls having New Year's kisses like these girlfriends and boyfriends. I'm single, I don't have a girlfriend. I saw parents with their kids, like my newborn's first New Year's, look at little Johnny, his first New Year's, take a picture, a little outfit. I don't have kids, I want to be a dad one day. And as I was scrolling, looking at everybody else's time, I started to feel kind of depressed. And I was like, but I had a great time.
Yeah.
I had an awesome time. But for some reason, my awesome time was not that good because I was comparing my time to other people's times.
Yeah, that's good.
And I wasn't taking the time that I had and appreciating for the blessing that it was. So what I want to talk about is something that we all struggle with, not just adults, and not just as Christians or as men or as women, but just as human beings on the earth. We struggle with the idea of comparison.
Yeah.
Not seeing ourselves as good enough, or in some situations, seeing ourselves as better than because of what someone else is doing and not because of how we're blessed. And I kind of was thinking about that. Like, that's something that I've kind of struggled with my whole life. I've always been, I've had a good life. God has blessed me in innumerable ways. I have, like, nothing but thanks to give him. And the day I face him in heaven, I will have no excuse or no reason to look at him and tell him, God, you didn't do enough with me. Like, you didn't give me enough, because he has.
Right.
But I've always looked at my life and said, well, this guy was a better athlete than me. That guy dressed better than me. My cousin got this, I didn't get it. and I just felt less than. And I started researching this past week about the idea of comparison. I was looking at some sermons from previous pastors. I looked at what Stephen Furtick said. I looked at Robert Morris, who's the guy that comes to Highlands a lot. And I came away with the thought that comparison is actually a sin. It's actually something that if you struggle with it and if you do it to yourself, you are going against the will of God for your life.
Yeah.
And I kind of jotted a few notes down for some things that I went through. So some of the stories are kind of funny, some are not. So I said it's going to be interactive. Hope you guys are okay with this. So first of all, before I just call on somebody who is like in a situation where they can pull the Bible out and could read something, like who could if I wanted you? So I want to point to somebody that's not prepared. All right. Clark, my buddy, how you doing? Glad you can make it back.
Hey, you're doing great.
Thank you. Could you, if you don't mind, open up John 21 and read verses 20 through 23.
Peter turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved was following them. This was the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and had said, "Lord, who is going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he asked, "Lord, what about him?" Jesus answered, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me." Because of this, the rumor spread among the believers that this disciple would not die. But Jesus did not say that he would not die. He only said, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you?"
So, and a little background on that, that's actually right after Jesus was resurrected and came back. And that's when Peter, as you guys remember, he denied Jesus 3 times in the garden. He denied him 3 times. And so obviously him and Peter are reconciled. God's forgiven him. He's welcomed him back. And this little background, there's a story, like a funny sermon I listened to from Craig Rochelle. Some of y'all may know who that is. If you notice, when Clark read it, thanks by the way, I appreciate it. He said the disciple whom Jesus loved. And I thought it was always funny that John would refer to himself that way, not by just John saying, he said the one Jesus loved. I thought that was always kind of funny. And he goes on to say that Peter and John had like a little rivalry because even though he didn't read it, when Peter and John both found out that Jesus had resurrected and that the grave was empty, they both ran, obviously, to go see like what's going on. Why is the grave empty? And 3 times in the passage, John makes it a point to say, and John, or the one Jesus loved, outran Peter, and he got there first. He was kind of comparing himself to Peter, being like, "Yeah, I'm faster than that guy." But the word stuck out to me is, "What's it to you?" Actually, read the last part again that Jesus, when he says to John, if you don't mind. Sorry.
If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you?
And I take that as Jesus saying to us, I've given each of you a purpose to do my will on this earth.
Yeah.
Every single one of you has an individual purpose. What your purpose is, Megan, is not the same thing as what yours is, Jennifer, which is not the same thing as yours, Tyler. What's it to y'all, what God has given, what God has told you all to do? So we're comparing ourselves, we're looking at what God has destined out for some person, someone, and saying, well, God, what about me? Like, why can't I have that role? Why have you given me what I've given me? But what Jesus is saying to Peter is, look, man, that's not to you. I've given you a mission. Do your mission. Don't let someone else's mission affect yours. Just run your race. Your race has been marked out for you by God. What someone else's race looks like, you'll never be able to run it. And when we compare ourselves, we're basically saying that my lane on like the track, if I'm in lane number 7, and Mo, you're in lane number 8, and Wilma, you're in lane number 6, what God is saying to Peter is, I put you in 7 for a reason. Love 7, honor 7, bless 7. Don't worry about 6 and 8.
That's good.
So that's something I noticed too. So I got another verse for you guys, or somebody to read if you don't mind. Actually, got 2. Parker, you got a ability? Could you go to James 4? Can you, when you get there, read James 4, 14 through 18? And while you're looking at that, Holly, you have the ability to look up something? You know, while he's doing that, can you go to Genesis 3?
James 4:14 through 18.
Yeah.
There isn't an 18, there's a 17.
Okay. Yeah, my translation's got 18, but it's cool.
James 4:14 through 17. Why you do not even know what will happen tomorrow? What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, is it the Lord's will we will live and do this or do that? As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them.
So that's an awesome verse, and I love it. But
Strong one.
I actually meant to say James 3, my apologies. Oh my God. That was awesome though. But James 3. That's where the 18 comes from. We're good, we're back, I'm back.
He was right.
You good? Try again.
All right. James 3:14 through 18. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from the heavens is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness.
So there's two parts here that I really like. So I want to start at the bottom. But thanks for doing the double. So I want to start kind of at the bottom and go up. I think a lot of the times when we get in those situations where we see our life or our mission is less than, the answer to that, obviously, or ultimately, is peace. If we have wisdom from heaven, then peace will follow it. We gotta have peace in our hearts and the mission that God's given us. And it's so important because I want to go back to something that God showed me when I read it, and I was kind of shook by it. So if you notice verse 16, it says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil practice. And I was like, every evil practice? Like, all of them? It's like, really? Like, even when I'm like speeding on the highway? Like, all of it? And then God threw me for a loop, which comes to Genesis. You got it?
Genesis
3. Could you read verse 3 through 7? This shook me. But go ahead.
But concerning the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the orchard, God said, you must not eat from it, and you must not touch it, or else you will die. The serpent said to the woman, surely you will not die, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will open, and you will be like divine beings who know good and evil. You said 3 through 7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When the woman saw that the tree produced fruit that was good for food. Okay, hold on. When the woman saw that the tree produced fruit that was good for food, was attractive to the eye, and was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some of it to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them opened, and they knew they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves.
So the reason why I wanted her to read that verse, if you go back to what James said, he said that at the root of envy, you'll find every evil practice, and how bad comparison can truly be for us. So when Holly, thanks by the way, when she read that, verse 6, I'm going to go back to that. She says, go to verse 5. She said, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And when she saw the fruit was pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took it and she ate it. So what I thought was, and this is kind of weird, I think you could make a legit argument that Eve's desire to compare herself to God and want to be like him ultimately was the source of the fall of man. I think you legitimately, I'm not trying to be a theologian here, but I think you legitimately could make that case that her desire to compare herself to a greater being or someone else that wasn't running her race and to run his race, to do God's job, ultimately got in her heart and caused her to want to eat the apple.
Yeah.
So if you think about the world we live in right now, so go back to James, he said at the root of envy is the root of all that's wrong is envy. Think about it. Eve, this is the very first sin ever created, or ever committed. It's the very first sin by man. Obviously Satan was before, but by man, the first sin ever committed could truly be traced back to a desire to compare herself to something else and to run a different race than the one that she's got marked out for. So that's how serious comparison can be. Not saying that we're all going to like destroy the world, but when you compare yourself and put yourself in someone else's lane, chaos ensues. Evil comes in. There's nothing good can come from it. And so the next question really has to fall down to, so how do we get past comparison? How do we get over it? Who else is able to read something?
Don't make eye contact, it's so picky.
I'll read it for you.
There we go. Can you read Ecclesiastes 4:4-6? Hey, Jordan, can you? You're next.
Who? She got the wrong name. Her name is Jordan too.
And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools that fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again, I saw something meaningless under the sun. You said there's 7, right?
2-6. So you're good.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I need one more clue when I shout them out. I need to get like 4 to 5. But let's focus on that two handfuls versus one handful of tranquility. That's a question we'll talk about later, so we'll discuss it more. But we always think, we got 2 hands, so I always want more. If I got a car, I need another car. If I make 40,000, I need 50,000. If I'm eating just appetizer and a full meal, I need dessert. I need to get all of it. We don't always need all of it. Because when you have 2 handfuls, there's toil. Because when you're not satisfied with what you have, you're only going to be hungry for what you don't. And you can't let that get to you.
Yeah.
So I want us all to say something real quick. I'm going to be interactive like Charlie. I'm not going to do like that. But. So the hashtag for this week, so we've got a hashtag every week. So if you keep coming back, you'll see more hashtags. Our hashtag for this week is hashtag there's no win in comparison. So I want us all together in unison to say this and feel it in your heart. So on the count of 3, we're all going to say it together. There's no win in comparison. 1, 2, 3.
There's
no win in comparison.
And we're going to do something else too. Everybody take your hands like this, except you because you're going. Whenever you're like this, I know some of us do this when we worship because we're like, hold the TV. Unless you're worshiping the Lord, this is not a good posture. If you really want to be content with your life, this is the best posture. 1 handful of tranquility versus 2.
Yeah.
1 handful versus 2. Because think about it. If you've got 1 handful, and I'm kind of making this up, not like right now, but just go with me. If you've got 1 handful and you're content, and you got contentment in your life, guess what you can use the other hand to do? Help others and bless others and work out the mission. But if you're always like this, and Mo needs help, well, sorry, Mo, I can't help you. My hands are taken. And one last verse that Jordan's going to read. You ready for it?
No, really.
I'm going to give it my thing.
He will provide.
I'm telling you, what let's preach.
Okay, so Austin, Philippians 4.
verses?
12 through 13.
12 through 13? All right, Jay.
Okay. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to be abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty of hunger, abundances I need, abundance and need. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. You said through 13, right?
Yeah, 13.
Okay, yeah.
So, now, I don't know what translation was that, by the way?
ESV.
Okay. So some translations will actually say the word content in it, but ultimately the main goal is, from Paul said, look what Paul went through. Guy was a martyr, tortured, in prison. He was hit with 38 lashes like multiple times. And even he's saying the key to the answer is contentment. If you can be content where you are, you will be happy. You will not have issues. But if you're always looking to the left, looking to the right, looking at what other people are doing, you'll never be content.
Yeah.
You'll only be chasing after the win. But if you can learn to just run your race and be happy and be pleased with where God's got you, you'll never struggle with comparison. You'll only go forward. Your heart will grow. You'll love others. You can walk in your mission, and we can honor the kingdom.
Yeah.
So one more time, we're going to say it. 1, 2, 3.
There's no win in comparison.
And appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Yay.
Sir.
All praise to God. None of me.
I'm a goof, that's the truth, I'ma hit the roof, That's the crew, I be crooked like my tooth, that's the scoop,